Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on YouTube's Total Hockey Now channel. Also content over on Twitter/X and Facebook as well. Make sure you check us out there. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. The man to my right, if you're looking at the screen, is at Ant Rivera 86. The man down below is at Fuzzy Chris 91. My line mates, as always, for this wonderful podcast. New background there for Chris as well. Loving the hats. Love the Expos hat there as well.
Absolutely. Big shout out to mom, dad, and the whole family for helping me put these shelves up. If you know me, you know that I can't put a screw in the wall. So big thanks to them for helping come up with this and all the ideas. I was told I can't have just hats. I was informed that I can't do it like that. My dad was also informed that I needed an Expos hat. So we have complied with the apparent rules that was needed, but now you guys no longer have to stare at just an empty wall with Milo in the corner here. You can look at some of the memorabilia and, of course, Milo in his corner.
Of course, we're not going to take what the people clamor for, frankly. That's what they want. They come for the Milo. They stay for the Milo.
He kept his corner office. I made sure that was, told.
I mean, he's a Total Hockey Now executive, so, I mean, he should have one of the corner offices.
No chance we were taking that away from him. I answer to him.
I mean, that's how it usually goes with the furry friends. Like my daughter says, when I ask my daughter who the boss is of the house, she says one of the cats, not me or my wife, one of the cats. So she knows. So yeah, we're gonna do today. We've been doing some positional rankings fantasy wise. Today we'll get back to division odds. We'll take a look at the NHL Central Division to give you our recommendations for who we think's going to win and wagers to play there. We'll go through some news quickly, and then of course we've got mock draft number 6 here that will get underway here in probably about a half hour or so. So looking forward to that. Why don't we get things going here with some headlines here in one of our favorite segments called Quick Hits. Yes, well, the Askarov trade happened like the day after we got off the air last week. We won't go rehash old news, but yes, the Sharks are making moves and have a strong young core now. The Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins swapped top prospects, with Winnipeg sending forward Rutger McGroarty to Pittsburgh. Forward Brandon Yeager. The 20-year-old McGroarty was selected 14th overall by Winnipeg in the 2022 NHL draft. Yeager was 14th by Pittsburgh the following year. The Jets and McGroarty couldn't get an entry-level deal done. Kind of sounds like he didn't want to be in Winnipeg long-term. Can't blame him. He was going to go back to Ann Arbor as of last April for another season in college, but magically after getting traded to the Penguins, he signs his entry-level deal there, not going back to the Wolverines. As for Yeager, he had a 95-point regular season in the Western Hockey League for the Moose Jaw Warriors and 27 points in the playoffs. Both of them did play in the World Junior Hockey Championships this year. McGroarty was the U.S. captain, won gold with 5 goals and 4 assists. Yeager had 2 goals and 3 assists for Canada, who finished 5th. So, the Penguins starting to inject some youth in the lineup. Maybe they'll have a nice balance this year a little bit with him getting into the team a little bit with the obvious vets there like Crosby, Malkin, Letang, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, I guess. I think it was kind of funny was him, like he didn't really answer why he didn't want to be in Winnipeg. And I mean, no offense to the good folks over at Winnipeg, but it's Winnipeg. So I think that alone probably explains why. It has nothing to do with the team, but if you live in Winnipeg, you know what I mean? We all know it's not a thing. But he's going to Pittsburgh. Like, if he thinks he has a better chance to win in Pittsburgh, man, I mean, Sid's what, like 37 now? Gino is falling apart. I mean, this could be, he could get 1 year of like that gang and then fall into like a 7-year rebuild, because that's what this looks like. So I'm glad he wanted out of Winnipeg. Well, I mean, I guess he got his wish, but I mean, he's going to Pittsburgh. He's got 1 good year, man. Soak it up and then enjoy the bottom of the standings for a decade.
Well, on the other end of this, Yeager must be super excited to be a part of a team that's quite possibly, and we'll get into this later, a top division team in the Central. So going to Winnipeg and being a part of that, winning combination has to feel good for him.
I don't think they'll expect a ton of heavy minutes out of him early, but yes, he'll be in the right spot, and he's definitely going to a place where he has probably a better chance of getting some playoff minutes than he did in Pittsburgh, that's for sure. So we'll see how that trade pans out over the coming seasons. Just a couple of quick signings to get to. The Blue Jackets signed restricted free agent Cole Sillinger to a 2-year, $4.5 million contract last week. Played 77 games with Columbus last season, had a 32 career points, 21 years old, so still some time to develop there. In related minor signing news, the Senators also signed Nick Cousins to a 1-year, $800,000 deal. So one of the most hated men in hockey now in the Canadian capital. So, I guess shades of Chris Neal to a certain degree. No, Chris Neal is beloved, actually. So, no, that's a bad comparison. And speak of the devil, there's Milo.
I'll say is the Blue Jackets and the Senators are really going to have no say or sway in what happens in this NHL season. So they're just, all right.
It's definitely develop for the future season for both teams.
How nice of Nick Cousins to come back to Canada. I'm excited to see who he cheap shots first.
Got to be somebody on the Leafs. He's going to get into that Battle of Ontario right away. So, but he's going to target somebody there.
It's probably going to be from behind, and he's probably going to turtle afterwards. So, but hey, he's a Stanley Cup champion, so I guess it's working.
I mean, imagine Nick Cousins and Jake Trouba on the same team. Can you imagine the penalty minutes? That would be like the old Oakland Raiders, where they would lead the league in penalties year after year after year for all those years because that was part of their mentality and their identity. That would happen if it was a
Nick
Trouba.
Cousins, Jake Trouba, Tom Wilson. No shot that team has the same lineup at any a fully intact roster for the whole season. No shot.
You'd also need the best penalty kill on the planet. And those guys would get worked. So there you go. A couple signings there. The AHL is mandating the use of cut-resistant neck protection by all players and on-ice officials. Change goes into effect for the next season following a unanimous vote by the AHL Board of Governors. They already were wearing cut-resistant socks and wrist sleeves for all skaters and officials. Now all players, referees, linespersons, regardless of experience or tenure in the league, must add approved cut-resistant neck protectors to their equipment. I can't imagine we're that far away from seeing this in the NHL, but I'd also imagine there'll be a grandfather clause where it's okay, players of this age now have to start wearing it. If you're older than that, you don't have to. Kind of the same way we saw with the helmets, years ago.
Helmets, visors, the whole thing. I mean, you could easily introduce this in minor hockey. You can introduce this in junior hockey as well. I mean, college kids still play with a full face mask, and that doesn't prevent them from being good NHL players. So I feel like it should be something that comes on. The NHL should try to mandate as much as you can for player safety. Specifically, I don't know how much it would bother players to have a little bit more of a turtleneck, right, kind of thing. I get sometimes it may not aesthetically doesn't look good, but the number of lives it could save. Skates are so sharp, they cut everything, and human flesh is no exception. So it's only a matter of time before the NHL, like you said, puts a rule in. And I mean, how many players now are without a visor in the NHL? I think a handful, 5.
Ryan O'Reilly, I think, is one of the last.
Ryan O'Reilly, Ryan Reeves is maybe Ryan Suter. I don't there's not many, so it'll phase out the same way. But good on the AHL for saying, hey, this is something that can save you. And sometimes players are their own worst enemies, right? You got to kind of mandate it for them to save their lives.
Yeah, I hope the NHL gets on that. And I hope it doesn't come to a point where someone gets seriously injured for them to mandate it. Be proactive about it and get that situated now. And, if there are some, complainers in the league, you can always fine them, I guess, fine them a certain amount of money for not wearing it, and then they'll eventually put it on. So,
see, I like the idea Chris had, because I did buy a neck protector for my Thursday night rec league, but it stays in my bag. I don't wear it like an idiot just because it feels weird to have that hanging around your neck. That being said, if you had a turtleneck that had that material, a moisture wicking one with that might be a different story. It might look silly, but I mean, who cares when you have a jersey and pads on top of it? I'm not wearing that to go out to the club. So who cares what it looks like?
And it's not even just for the neck. Think about, you're more likely to get a skate along your arm or your wrist or your leg. There's equipment. There's
that Kane.
Yeah, Evander Kane being the most recent. I'm not to say that I'm not worried. The likelihood of a skate being next to your neck is quite far, but I mean, a skate when you're in a scrub or somebody falls, and just like it doesn't take much for a skate to just slice open your arm. So I think it's more for that. Yes, go all the way to the neck, but it's mostly to protect that areas now. I mean, gloves are shorter than ever. I don't know about you guys, but like for me, like my glove is short, my elbow pad doesn't go all the way down. There's a ton of forearm that's exposed, and it doesn't take much for a glove to hit.
Exactly. A couple more fun items to get to before we get to Central Division odds here. NHL TV schedules are coming out, and obviously, what's being aired in the United States is going to be different in Canada. So we're not going to get into specifics on ESPN or wherever, TNT or wherever you watch, however you watch. However, one big schedule note early, Tuesday, October 22nd. You want to clear your calendars here, folks. All 32 teams in action that day. So there you go. Tuesday night, you kind of avoid the NFL as much as possible. So you get that in there. A couple of weeks in the season, trying to build some buzz. I've already put that in my calendar, and yes, I will be. I may not be able to sit on my keister from 4 o'clock Pacific all the way to 10:30 Pacific, but I will be when I am home. That will be for sure. I'll be in the office that night.
First person to call me on that night gets blocked. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying who might be, more likely to.
I'm just setting a reminder to call you that night.
Gotcha. I'm not saying it's my mom, but I'm just saying first person to just call and say, "What are you doing?" or "Are you busy?" Gets instantly blocked. So figure it out.
I have a long list in my notebook of how not to get blocked by Chris, and it's very long. It's very, very long to figure out. You posted earlier the schedule. Was that from ESPN, right?
So the one I had on the outline earlier was the ESPN opening night. It was a doubleheader. It's Rangers, Penguins, and then Vegas, Colorado in Vegas. That's TNT. ESPN opens the night before, I believe, on Tuesday. They have 3 games there. A few teams are opening overseas in Europe as well a few days prior to that. So I love that they go overseas to open the season. And I get that those teams have to go there a few days before, but I don't love the soft launch of a season. Like that's one thing that baseball has, and football too. But baseball opening day is a holiday. Like there are people who take that day off from work every year and their bosses know like, hey, Mets opener, not going in. That person's going to be out that day. So, like in football, obviously, you got the big Thursday night opening spectacle. This year, they have that Friday game in Brazil and then first Sunday night. That's the one thing I don't love about opening overseas. It kind of, it almost, not to say those games don't count, but it's almost like an afterthought or a footnote. Like, yeah, great. The season's kicking off at 11 a.m. on the West Coast. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's not the same.
I don't know if you guys have ESPN Plus or even if they do this, but I know for the US Open, which has been going on for the last couple of days, is you can watch a certain amount of games on one screen. I don't know if they do that for hockey, but that would be awesome on ESPN Plus. If like there's 3 games going on at the same time and you can have them all put on one of your screens, that would be a cool thing. I just don't have ESPN Plus, so I don't know if they do that.
I'll have to test that out. I know that for Sunday Ticket on YouTube, you can do that where you can have like a couple of games on the screen at once. You can like cherry pick them and stuff like that. So October 22nd, folks, mark the calendars. We'll be on Twitter that night as well. Maybe we'll do something fun. We'll see. Last news note before we get to the Central Division odds. Instead of just one cover athlete, EA Sports is going to go with 3 this year, going with the 3 Hughes brothers, Jack, Luke, and Quinn from the Devils and the Canucks, respectively. This is the first time brothers are on the cover during the NHL EA Sports Series. NHL 25 going to be released October 4th. The same day the season opens with the Sabres facing Jack, Luke, and the Devils in the NHL Global Series in Prague, which I hear is a fantastic city to go visit. It's very underrated. I've never been. I thought about going one year when the Rangers were opening up there, but that never came to fruition. But yeah, I mean, that's the flip side of it being cool is like if you're a fan of a team opening, like, all right, we're going to maybe plan a big trip around it to go to Europe to watch a team, do something unique.
Yeah, you guys already knew this from our time on Better Hockey Now when we were talking about this game last year in the cover athlete. I don't know if the Total Hockey Now people know this, but this is the only sports game that I play. It is by far I don't care. You can talk about Madden all you want. NHL is the best sports game to me. I like that we've getting to see all 3 brothers, and I'm surprised that they're the first ones. I thought the Sedins may have been on there, but I guess not. They've always done just one player. But yeah, I'm super excited for this, and I'll have to get that cover with all three of these guys on there. It's cool that the brothers get to be on there together.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, why try to pick one Hughes brother when you could just have all three, right? So that's kind of cool. I am disappointed that EA has not launched a PC version. I mean, it is like we're in 2024 now. You know what I mean? So that'd be kind of fun if NHL could come to a computer game, just like every other game is. So that would be kind of fun. EA, you know, if you're watching, just think about it.
I'm curious if they go back to the brothers well at some point and do the Kachuk brothers. That would be a cool thing to do if they both continue to be top 15 players in the league. Yeah, I mean, and also another cool little, like, you know, hidden detail about the cover. If you look at the locker stalls to the left and right of the three brothers, is the mother gets a stall and the father gets a locker stall. So that was a cool little, like, hidden little detail that they added in. So, you know, I don't really get the time to play as video games nearly as much as I would like to. If NHL 25 intrigues me enough, I may have to go out and get it. I don't even know if they make it for PS4. That's how old my system is. So I'd have to even check if they're even making it for that. But there's news and notes there from around the league. About 15 minutes here on Total Hockey Now. Don't forget, give us a like, rate, review, subscribe. Any of that stuff. Would appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. We know we added a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks here. That's been great. So let's give you what you tune in for. Let's start talking NHL Central Division odds. Let's get them up on the screen there. And then you can see there, the Avalanche are the favorites again at plus 195. Dallas, not too far behind them at plus 230. Then you got the Predators there at plus 480. And then the Winnipeg Jets at plus 750. Then on the right side, Minnesota not far behind at 850. And then more distant there, St. Louis at plus 1900. For the first time, the Utah Hockey Club plus 2,500, and then the Blackhawks at long shots at plus 11,000. No surprise there. So when we take a look here, is this another situation where we're not even paying attention to the right side of the screen, and we're only talking about the four teams on the left? I mean, I don't. Nobody is going to make an argument for Chicago, but is there anybody else that want to make an argument for?
No, not to win the division. I mean, if we're talking about making the playoffs, I could start looking at three teams at least on that right side there. The only thing I would think of is why is St. Louis and Minnesota so far apart, especially when St. Louis finished better in the standings. They had 92 points to Minnesota's 87. They were a lot better team than Minnesota was. St. Louis.
Here's why: the St. Louis Blues are frauds. I mean, I can't be more direct. That's like they're a decent hockey team, but
far apart.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota had a rough year last year. Let's be honest. They started when Dean Evason was there. They struggled to keep the puck out of their own net. I don't know. I will take nobody from that right side. Let's be clear. And I think Minnesota at plus 850 is not even a great odd. They should be probably plus 1,000 and more. Like that is. I think St. Louis is fine where they are. They're not really contenders. I don't think as well. There's not enough value there to even trust Minnesota. They'd have to be higher than that. You're telling me they're almost 8-1 to win the Central, looking at all those teams on the left. Like they didn't get offensively, they're decent. Defensively, this like who knows? And by the way, like they're gonna probably have a goaltending tandem, and Marc-Andre Fleury is like 41. So like, have fun, Minnesota fans, but it's gonna be there's gonna be some rough nights.
Yeah, when I look at that right side, I mean, to make the playoffs, maybe Utah gets a boost from the new location, fan base, much improved blue line. Connor Ingram takes another step. It may be something to consider. I don't see St. Louis really being in the playoff mix. I mean, yeah, sure, they added Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, and that's all good and well. That's not really moving them too much. Minnesota, I mean, playoffs, yes. Division, no. I mean, you'd really just need everything to go perfectly in Minnesota. You need Kaprizov to have a career year. You need Marco Rossi to take a big jump. You need Zuccarello to stay healthy and put it together another 60, 70-point campaign. Obviously, you know what you're getting in Joel Eriksson at quality center there. But, yeah, and Matt Boldy's great, too. So they do have some pieces, but it's just I don't think there's enough there. And, of course, Brock Faber, who we've talked about a bunch on the show. But I don't think they're really in division contention. So let's focus on the four teams on the left. Winnipeg.
Yep.
One thing that I was thinking about this, and a reason I'm not too hot on Winnipeg is last year they got a big boon from the news of the dual signings of Hellebuck and Scheifele. Let's face it, that's a shot in the arm to the locker room when you get news like that, where one guy who was expected to be traded and another guy you didn't know who was going to happen. They both decide, hey, we're going to stick around here for a while. They rode that wave for a while. They rode the momentum of that feel good, like, hey, the two best players on our team or two of the best players on our team say they want to stay. They're not going to have that shot in the arm this year. So I don't know how much of a difference that makes. I'm not saying they missed the playoffs. It's just for the division, I'm leaning more towards, the top three. Colorado, when is the goaltending going to catch up to them with Georgiev and the depth? But they still manage to be in the mix every year and be close to the top of the division regardless. Dallas to me is probably the pick here. I think they're the most well-rounded. They'll probably, the way they play is, built to withstand the regular season and maintain it. I think they're in good shape there. I know Nashville's very much improved, but we got to see how it clicks. You got 3 new bodies in there, and yes, they're going to be better, but there is going to take some time for that adjustment to happen.
Yeah, can Nashville, going off of what you said with Winnipeg, that shot in the arm, re-signing Saros, bringing in the players that they brought in, including Steven Stamkos, can that launch them into, being one of those top teams? I don't think it wins them the division, but I also think that, I don't know, I know you said Colorado, but I feel like this number for them is fraud. I think Dallas is way better than Colorado is, and I kind of think Winnipeg is.
That's fair. I have Winnipeg winning this division, by the way, just in case anybody is worried. Winnipeg is a team that they've stayed together. So when you look at their roster from last year to this this upcoming season, so far it's pretty stable, right? I know they have a new bench boss behind, and that's fine. Maybe Cole Perfetti now gets some ice time. That'd be kind of fun. But they still have, to me, in my mind, the best goalie in that division, right? Connor Hellebuck is the best goalie. They were one of the best defensive teams in the league. Their core has stayed intact. So they have the path of least resistance, in my mind, to get back to where they need to be. All the other teams in front of them have something that is just not, that there's a question mark for it. For Colorado, it's their depth. You don't have Valerie Natushkin. That kind of hurts. Gabriel Landeskog is skating. He's closer to returning than he's ever been. But where does he fit in? How does Colorado fit all that under the cap? There's a lot of things going on right now in Colorado, and they can't just keep running out that top line and that top pairing 25, 27 minutes a night. Colorado is also very dominant on home ice, but they were a mediocre team on the road. So if they slip just a little bit at home, they're going to start plummeting. Dallas, it's their defense to me. It's just there's a couple of there's Matt Dumba is there, Ilya Lyubushkin is that's fine, but those are not top 4 defensemen. I mean, it's Miro Heiskanen is good, yes. What are we going to get from Harley? Their depth is okay. I wonder how the loss of Joe Pavelski hurts them. That's a pretty big hole because he was playing in their top 6. I don't necessarily know if they're going to they didn't go out to replace him. So does one of the kids take over, Stankoven or Johnson? Do they move him to the wing? There's a lot of questions to be asked there, so I don't know. The Preds is kind of like we all are thinking here. How is this going to mesh together? They have the most potential. They would be my second pick. I just don't think their odds at plus 480 is that great. I think it's a little bit inflated, but they do have a good goalie. Defensively, they are a good team, and they've added a ton of offensive firepower to their lineup. So they have the pieces in place, but we've seen teams go out, get players, and then it just doesn't mesh, or it doesn't work, or it just let's not forget, Nashville had to cancel their U2 Sphere concert for them to be oh, let's go on an 18-game winning streak to be relevant, right? So I need to see a little bit more here from Nashville. So I'm taking Winnipeg. That's don't let me down, but that's who I'm going with here.
I'd be pissed too if I was supposed to go to the Sphere and then that got yanked out from under me. I would not be a happy camper either. But I mean, let me go back to I'm not debating that Connor Hellebuck is the best goalie in the division, but how in this division, how much better is he than Jake Attinger and UC Saros? It's not, to me, it's not that wide of a gap. Over Georgiev, sure, But over those other two, I mean, those guys are kind of right there. So that's my thing. And yeah, Dallas has, I think Stankoven will take he was a nice shot in the arm at the end of last year. He'll replace some of Pavelski's production. Anthony's guy, Wyatt Johnston, maybe he takes another step this year and produces even more and really becomes like one of the go-to guys for Dallas. Mason Marchment, that's another one. So, I mean, yeah, the blue line does get a little bit thinner there. That third pairing of Brendan Smith and Matt Dumba. It's fine on a regular season night, in November or February, but come playoff time, that'll need some improvement. But I think Dallas is pretty consistent. I do understand with Winnipeg, they promoted the assistant, so it's not really a big change there. Same, team. So, I mean, for me, it's still, I like Dallas. I would say Dallas plus 230 if I had to pick one, with Nashville being my second pick there. I think they're going to have a nice buzz about them this year. At some point, the Avalanche's goaltending has to catch up with them. So, maybe that's this year with Nashville improving and, Dallas and Winnipeg being just as strong as last year.
Right, so you have Winnipeg fourth then? Like if you're going Dallas, Nashville, Colorado, and then Winnipeg?
To win the division. If we're going to rank them, I mean,
do you have Winnipeg as a wild card team?
I mean, it's either them or Colorado in that 3 spot to me.
Just like, I know I said mean things about Winnipeg and the city, but I mean the team is still good. So I think
maybe I'm wrong. Listen,
we got to turn off our direct DMs on Twitter because like we're gonna get heat for 2 different reasons. You for saying they finished 4th, and me for saying Winnipeg is not the best city.
No, but I think Winnipeg knows that as a city, it's not an ideal place to go. I think they're aware of that. As long as you're not trashing it too much, I think they're okay with it.
I think the best value is with Winnipeg at plus 750. And if I had to go, I'm going to agree with both of you guys. Plus 750 would be my take for Winnipeg at number 1. And then at number 2, I agree with Adam with the plus 480 for Nashville. You're talking about a 10-goal differential between Winnipeg and Colorado there. And obviously Winnipeg had that, really big flame out in the first round of the playoffs, but they were solid from beginning to end all season long. And they finished with an 8-game winning streak. I'm going to take them to take that next step over a team like Dallas, who's kind of been there and had that opportunity so many times already. I think it's Winnipeg's turn to be the top contender, with Nashville getting that little spark that you kind of talked about earlier with the addition of Stamkos and having Saros be locked in.
All right. Well, you heard it here first.
So we got a Winnipeg, we got a Dallas, we got 2 Winnipegs and a Dallas. Now, while you guys talk a little bit more about the Central, I'm going to get our draft link ready here. So coming up for our mock in just a few minutes here. Excited to do that today. We're going to do a 10-team mock. We don't want to do roto. We want to do head-to-head.
Yeah, I got to be ready for this draft. I almost missed out.
I know. Last week I was a little worried about that. Let's see here. Let's go for
hopping on.
Let's go with the draft at 212.
Got to stay locked in.
Yeah.
All right. So I am going to put the link to that draft room in the chat right now. And then I'm going to go tweet that out. So it should be there. It goes. You guys get in and get your spot before it's too late. We don't want a repeat of what happened last week where I was legit sweating Anthony out there. I thought he wasn't going to be in the room and he was going to be a spectator. But he got it literally the last spot. So that was nice. So let's see here. As you guys
remember where I was last time.
I just always take the turn at 10 just so I can control the pace of the draft a little bit. But as long as we spread out, we're good.
I'm going to go a little bit earlier here. I'm going to go 4.
I'll go 1.
All right. So, I mean, unless you're taking McDavid, unless you're not taking McDavid, I think we all know what's happening there. Going to tweet that out right now.
I'm ready to shock the world today on this mock draft, baby.
This is going to be at 2:12 p.m. Okay, post. There we go. All right, so we've got about 6 minutes to kill, and then by the time the draft goes, it's a 10-teamer. We'll breeze through it pretty quickly and give you a recap before we get out of here on Total Hockey Now. Just wrapping up Central Division odds discussion there. Nobody from the right side. Maybe a Minnesota playoff spot, maybe a Utah playoff spot. On the left side, Chris and Ant are both big on the value of the Winnipeg Jets at plus 750. I'm gonna go with the Stars again. You're not making a ton of money with these season-long bets, but looking at that, I would still go Dallas. And yeah, it certainly can't go wrong with Nashville. If you think that spark's going to happen for them with the new additions and Stamkos, Brady Shea, Jonathan Marchessault, nobody here really making an argument for Colorado, so we all expect to step back there.
I think it's a trap. I think that's a trap bet right there.
Plus 195 with Alexander Gorgiev.
And
Homie,
it's not like
homie's a fraud.
It's not like the other teams are mediocre. You're talking about any one of those three teams below Colorado can take the division, and they all finished, well, except for Nashville. They all finished ahead of them, and Nashville wasn't that far away either.
Boys, I just want to point out that I'm in trouble because the Silver Fox is back and he's drafting 9th. So I am for sure.
Oh,
What's the over under? I'm going to set the over under on 3.5 snipes today. What do we take? No, 4.5. 4.5.
I was trying to get Cale Makar on the coming back. He's not coming back, is he? I have drafted Cale Makar in 0 of the 5 mock drafts we've done. I am 0 for 5. And also, there's been a lot of slander about Rasmus Dahlin, and I am not here for it. We need to put some respect on this man's name, because some of you are out here thinking he's not, let alone not a top, not a top 5, which I guess is debatable. Some of you have him outside of a top 10, fantasy defenseman, which is criminal. NHL Network came out with their rankings. He's 11th. So I get that I was on the Devin Levi train last year and that exploded, but let's give Rasmus Dahlin a little bit of love here. Okay. Stop with this nonsense. I don't want any of you to start, because some of you are like, oh no, he's not a top 10. And I'm like, I don't know what copium you guys are on, but we need to end it now.
Yeah, if you want to make an argument that he's not top 5, that can be entertained.
Fine, I can live with that. But some of you are out here thinking he's not a top 10 fantasy defense. I have him top 3, and he's not 3rd.
Well, it's better for you, Chris, because then you can draft him.
That is true.
Everybody's missing out.
That is true. I will gladly take it. I'm just not here for the slander. The city of Buffalo, but not Rasmus Dahlin.
The message boards and the comments were coming after you this whole week.
I know. I've been making friends everywhere I've gone.
I just wish that when these guys leave these comments, let us know what your top 10 is. That's what I want to know. Where do you rank the guys that you don't like where we have them? Let us. You
can't just be get Chris out. I can't. We can't get me out here. The executive producer will allow me to stay here as long as it. So you guys are stuck with my ugly face here. Deal with it.
Another one I saw was that we didn't have Elias Pettersson in our top 10 centers. And I understand that can ruffle some feathers, but he was still top 12. We're splitting hairs here. It's not like we're saying Elias Pettersson is the 21st ranked center. So, I mean, teach their own. We love the opinions. We love the comments. Weigh in. You like us. You hate us. Love what we're doing. Hate what we're doing. Let us know. We enjoy it.
We enjoy hearing your opinion. Just know that it's wrong and that mine is right. That's it's easier when you get that, settled. I'm just saying.
Well, nothing beats them arguing or putting you down, and their avatar is of a Vancouver. We know you're a super fan. We got it.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
Another one while we're killing some time here. We got about 4 minutes to go before we get to our draft. Is how many championship teams take that many defensemen early? It's all about the format. If you're only sending out 2-3 defensemen, then wait, it's fine. But if you're in a format where you have to have 4 or 5 defensemen every night, you need to invest in that a little bit.
Well, my answer to that question is how many elite defensemen are there in fantasy versus how many elite forwards are there, right? A lot of teams have 1 defenseman on the power play. And some teams only use 1 unit. Washington's second unit is who? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Who's Edmonton's second unit? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. The threshold of finding an elite defenseman who can, again, depending on your league settings, if they hit, if they block shots, if they rack up points and they rack up goals, those are hard defenseman to find. Sure, I can pencil those. I can find a Radko Gudas or a Jeremy Lauzon late in the draft, but they're one-dimensional. So guys like Rasmus Dahlin do a lot of great things. The same reason why we love JT Miller. Can he rack up goals? Yes. Can he rack up points? Yes. Shots, yes. And oh, by the way, he throws his weight around. So that's like, it's hard to find those players. It's those stat stuffer guys. So I'm sure if you look at some of those winning teams, go back to your leagues and look at it. There are some of those defensemen. Maybe they weren't early taken. Maybe somebody, got lucky and drafted someone late. But those elite defensemen are hard to find, man. You got to lock them up.
Well, I want to before we start, because we have about a minute, quickly go over what is involved in this draft. Roster positions: we got 2 centers, 2 left, and 2 right wings, 4 defensemen, 2 goalies, and obviously there'll be a bench there. The stat categories for this one: goals, assists, a Chris Murray's favorite plus minus in there, power play points in there, shots on goal and hits. For the goaltenders, wins, goals against average, save percentage, and shutouts.
I don't want to see a single one of you talk to me about the plus minus stat because we already know where I'm at.
You know what, though? I mean, it's pretty much a part of every league, but it's pretty much always the category that I punt on. I'm like, whatever. Like, I'll take that loss every week. Because, going back to taking good players on bad teams, that is the sacrifice you make, is that, okay, well, it's going to kill your minus. Well, you know what? You can't win every category. Sometimes you got to pick which ones that you're not going to care as much to make sure you solidify the ones you're strong in. And to me, plus minus has been one I've punted pretty much since I started playing fantasy hockey.
Does anybody actually draft somebody based on their plus minus? Like, it's such a team stat. Every other stat there is more of an individual stat. The plus minus, if you're if you're a San Jose Shark, it's just unfortunate. You're minus 40, right off the rip. So, okay, well, it doesn't mean there's not players with value there. It's just they're losing every night and by a lot.
But then again, okay, so a guy like Macklin Celebrini, we'll see when he gets taken in this mock draft. He's been going somewhere, usually somewhere in the mid-teens is when he's been going for the ones we've been doing. You take him, you're going to accept okay, there's a lot of minus there, but maybe it's worth it because he's going to take a lot of face-offs and win a lot of face-offs. I mean, we'll see. Let's see here as I get everything ready. Draft sounds off.
Yeah, can't forget that. My brother had texted me because I had been telling him about that. He does play a lot of fantasy hockey and he does a lot of the best ball stuff. So he had asked me about who are the best rookies to look into, and I said, you know what, that might be a good topic for one of our shows eventually.
Anyway, maybe we'll do a top 10. Top 10 rookies might be up. We can, I don't know if there's 10 rookies to look out for. But we can do a breakdown of the ones that we should be keeping an eye on that may make their trip out of the AHL a little bit quicker than others here. We got a minute and a half till the upcoming draft. Let's get that up.
If you have a non-roster spot in your fantasy league, that position should be filled night 1 when your league starts. The minute your draft is over, especially if you can add them straight from the waiver wire to the non-roster spot, then that's where you should go. Pick a guy who maybe isn't going to make it, or night 1 of the fantasy, they get sent down to the AHL, but they're the first call up coming up, or there's always that one guy that's just going to come in and, do something a little bit. So advocate for those things. Those spots should be filled. The same thing with your IR spots. If you have nobody that's hurt, great. Find a player who may be on IR, stash them there, and then just wait. But all those spots need to be filled. Don't have any empty spots going into the opening night.
Yeah, and don't forget, with some of these guys, depending upon what their situation is, a team's not sure, they'll do the old 9 games before the entry-level contract kicks in. So you may, if anything, take a shot on these guys early, see what happens. Take a shot on them later in the draft, but earlier in the season. If they don't pan out, all right, they're going down to the AHL. They're probably going to be down there for a while to, get some seasoning. But if they stick past 9 games, they've already burned that year. They're not going to be as keen on sending a rookie down or an entry-level guy down. So there we go. We got 20 seconds here. The draft's about to kick off here. Ant's going to lead us off, presumably with a Connor McDavid pick. Maybe he shocked the world. I don't know. I got to turn draft sounds off on the presenter mode. Maybe one day I'll remember to do both. There we go. And Ant is officially on the clock.
I see these draft scout suggestions, and they have David Pastrnak over Austin Matthews. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Seeing that there?
False.
False. As much as I want to make an argument for a right wing and the importance of getting that position, the right wing locked up because the cliff is quick when the drop off happens, not over Austin Matthews.
I didn't see if we cleared all 10 people for the draft. Are we? I think we did.
All right, we somebody left, I believe, but yeah, we have a full 10 spots here. So
Josh has got to get back to work.
It happens. It happens.
Fine,
you can still maybe make it a small screen, keep it in the corner. I know with these draft boards, it's tough to do that, but no surprise there. Nate McKinnon goes second overall with Rock on the clock. He takes Austin Matthews. So now we'll see what Chris is going to do here. I would assume he's going to go one particular direction.
It's kind of the guy I wanted there. That's
you're muted, Ant.
100% of the time, you're drafting Connor McDavid number 1, no matter what.
Yes. Until there's a reason not to.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's coming into a season with a lingering injury or maybe he misses a little, depending on how much time he's even going to miss, you still got to take him. And there goes Pasternak. There goes Draisaitl. So those were no shot surprises there in the top 5. Maybe Draisaitl going or slipping down the 5, but even so, I mean, that's going to be your top 5 in the bulk of your drafts, pretty much regardless of format. Now we got Josh on the clock here.
So, Chris, what was your reasoning for going Pasternak over Draisaitl, especially on here when Draisaitl can give you 2 positions?
He can. Pasternak is, to me, the top right winger, so I get one of those positions kind of locked out. They also have him at a downtick in goals. I don't think that's true. I think Boston will be not as great as a team, so they have to play. I think they're going to be in a lot more tight games. Maybe they're going to be trailing a little bit, so Pasa might see the same amount of ice time. And he is, to me, is the only elite winger on that ice, so he's going to be there as often as possible. It was just, I could have gone Leon. I did last mock. I figured I'd take a right wing here and go from there.
All right, so I'm going to get the first defenseman off the board here, and then I said I might take this guy in a tweet earlier today. JT Miller, we sung his praises last week, center, left wing eligibility. At that turn, getting him a car and a Miller, I'll take that. I like what I got there.
Yeah, you kind of knocked 2 birds with 1 stone on that turn there. So
there goes Kaprizov, Panarin, Deuce is back on the clock here. So Silver Fox, Brady, Kachuk, Kirill, Kaprizov right off the bat. Good 1-2 there. Let's look at the Rantanen and Panarin for Brian on the wings. Hughes and Matthew Kachuk for Deuce. Kucherov, and we'll see what Josh takes here with Chris 2 picks away.
Adam, is it weird to you that Panarin is this high on the rankings?
No, because he had a really strong regular season, and I don't think there's a reason to think he's going to necessarily take a step back. I mean, he has chemistry with Vinny Trocheck. Lafreniere had a fantastic season, and we're expecting maybe even more from him this year. So if he stays on that line, maybe that takes some pressure off Panarin a little bit, or focus on him, and he can have another really strong season. But we'll see. I would like to see it happen in the playoffs. Let's see. So the last few picks there, Josh takes William Nylander. Kenai goes with a Draisaitl Reinhardt 1-2 punch. Roman Josi and David Pasternak there for Chris. Philip Forsberg and Austin Matthews for Rock. Now on the clock is Jason. He took Nate McKinnon in the first round. Be interesting to see where he goes here. You still got Pedersen, Zach Hyman, Quinn Hughes, Evan Bouchard, Sidney Crosby. So it's a couple directions we could go, and then Ant's going to be able to go back to back. And there goes Igor Shesterkin. So Ant got him early last week. He's not going to get him this week.
I'm not going to get him, but we just talked about the Central Division, and I am going to take Connor Hellebuck as my goalie.
Ooh,
and then I am going to kind of stack here a little bit in Edmonton, but with defense, and get Evan Bouchard.
All right, so McDavid, Hellebuck, Bouchard, 1, 2, 3. Certainly not a bad open to the draft for Ant at that top spot there. Be curious to see what happens here. We've had 3 defensemen go off the board and 2 goalies. There goes defenseman 4. We might be on a run of green here. Potentially, we'll see a run of purple with the goaltenders. Chris is on deck here as Rock makes his 3rd-round pick, and he takes Mitch Marner. Jason has a McKinnon, Shesterkin, Hughes, 1, 2, 3 punch, strong as well. Now Chris on the clock here. We'll see if he goes center, goaltender. What is he going to do? And he gets Rasmus.
Yeah, he got his guy.
A respect.
He couldn't handle the slander anymore. That was the problem.
Handle it.
He had enough.
Handle it.
Looking at the goalies, next up in line, Sorokin, Swayman, and Vasilevsky, who is also a Chris favorite. So we'll see if anything happens on that front on the way back.
So Elias Pettersson is the 9th center to go there, but in a lot of leagues, Kachuk's not going to have center eligibility, so we'll call that 8th, and that was a position in the top 10 we were considering, so that falls in line. Crosby goes to Josh after Pettersson. UC Saros to Deuce. Braden Point, Jeremy Swayman. I'm back on the clock here, and I'm feeling the pressure to take a goalie. So let's get Jake Ottinger right there. And now I actually have to make a. Now I got to look at stuff here. Let's see what I want to do. Don't love any of the left wings at this point. I'm actually a little. I don't know what I really want to do here. All right, I'll just take Zach Hyman. Let me get a piece of that Edmonton top line power play. Certainly not a bad way to go there to open the 4th round.
You got it.
So I got JT Miller with center on left wing, McCarr on defense, Ottinger, and then Zach Hyman there. Back on the clock here is the Silver Fox. Maybe I sniped him for once. Maybe it went the other way. And Miller actually slided as a right wing, not a left wing. So excuse me there. There goes Aho, who was a guy I was considering at that pick, and then Connor Bedard to Brian. I think that's a fine spot in the 4th round because I don't think he's going to be there in the 5th round if you wait on him too long. Jason Robertson, Chris Kreider, Sergei Bobrovsky to Kenai, and now Chris back on the clock here. So Kenai goes centers the first 3 rounds and then gets probably the last good goal. Not the last good goalie, but one of the last better goalies off the board. Surprised he does not. And there goes Vasilevsky. So I'm surprised instead of Bobo and Vassy didn't go there to the Rock. But Chris takes Jake Gensel. Andrei Svechnikov goes to Jason. And now Ants on the turn here to close round 4 and open round 5. Chris, you go Gensel there. So you don't have any centers yet, but you got your top right wing, your top left wing, 2 defensemen, no goaltenders there. Was it a decision to pass on Vasilevsky? Did you think about that?
I thought he was coming back, but Rock clearly had different ideas.
So Ant makes his. He gets Steven Stamkos there at the close round 4. And who's he going to take to open round 5?
We are going to kind of wrap up the goalies, and I'm going to take Jacob Markstrom. I know he went early in the last draft. Now I'm locked in on goalie, and I can move on with my life.
So yeah, and a little bit of the guy you want to watch there. That you're going to be watching him every night anyway. And I don't mind reaching a tad for a guy you want in that situation. If this is a guy you're going to be watching 82 times a year, sure, why not? Go for it. And plus, honestly, with the goaltenders left, I mean, Sorokin's there, Skinner's there, but I mean, considering
I'm just too worried about the Islanders at this point in time, especially some of the game that we saw from him where he was not really good last season. It does concern me. And the fact that, like you said, watching this Devils team, the defense in front of Markstrom's going to be better, and just the entire team is going to be better. So I took a little bit of reach there. That's fine, though. But again, I mean, he's a guy he's reachable. He makes sense to have a little bit of a reach there. I'm on deck there, and then let's see. We had Adam Fox, Victor Hedman, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, Jack Eichel, Jesper Bratt, Carter Verhaeghe, Timo Meyer all go there in the 5th round. We'll go in depth with that in a minute. But I am back on the clock, and I got to figure out what I'm doing.
There's no wrong answer
there. Chris Connor and Gensel back to back there. I think that's pretty good left wing presence.
The left wing is set up. Kyle Connor's going to have a nice bounce back.
I feel like you did get sniped from Silver Fox because Timo Meyer is your usual go-to.
All right, I'm going to grab my second defenseman. I know that's a reach early. I don't love the pick, but the clock was running out on me. So that does happen sometimes. Just got to deal with it. There's a couple of ways I could go here. I hate to be the guy milking the clock, but all right, whatever. He's going for history. Maybe he gets a little bit of a bet. I'll take Ovechkin here in the 6th round. Again, this is probably his last good year if he's going to have one. So he's going to leave this. He's going to leave everything out on the ice this year. Maybe that pays off as a last hurrah kind of pick. Don't really love the Heiskanen pick. I panicked, but I don't hate it either. There goes. Yeah, and Dobson's right there. That's that's my mistake. I got to take Dobson instead of his Heiskanen there. Georgiev goes. He'll get the wins. Tage Thompson, Brad Marchand, Wyatt Johnston, who maybe Ant was looking at there, coming back to him. Chris back on the clock here. No centers or goaltenders yet for Chris, so we'll see if maybe that's a direction he's going to go here.
We'll wrap up the goaltending here.
Ilya Sorokin, he is a believer. And Rock is back on the clock. He takes Joel Eriksson Ek, another guy of Chris's guys. If it's in team, city, or state that starts with M, Chris likes them.
Rock's been following here. I see he's been listening. First with the Vazzy pick, now with the Eriksson pick. They're not coming back around.
About to close out round 6 here. So Adrian Kempe goes there as Ant's going to make his back-to-back picks. There goes Dougie Hamilton with the first pick. He's got a decision to make here. So Ant's team right now, you got in the last 3 picks, Stamkos, Markstrom, Dougie Hamilton.
I'm going to shore up defense right now.
And he gets Brandon Montour, the big signing for the Kraken this year, to help with their blue line and their power play. So he's got McDavid, Stamkos, Bouchard, Hamilton, Montour, Hellebuck, and Markstrom. So he's built out his back end. Now you can really focus on the forwards and kind of wait on defense a little bit there.
Yeah. Silver Fox really, I don't know I think it was Silver Fox who took those 4 defensemen in a row he had a nice little run of 4 defensemen in a row. And that kind of inspired me a little bit there.
There goes my guy Sergachev to Josh. We couldn't take him here, but he wasn't going to get back to me at that point. There goes Stu Skinner, Dylan Larkin, Matthew Barzal, and now Deuce on the clock. So Larkin kind of flying under the radar a little bit here. Not a lot of talk about Detroit, but he's still their top line center. He's still going to produce. He's still going to lead the power play. Probably play with Patrick Kane. So good pick there by Chris. What else were you considering?
I mean, Yahoo has him on a little bit of a downtick from his numbers. I got to assume at one point Yzerman's plan is going to work, right? So, and he's still got enough. There's enough talent around Dylan Larkin to be good. I guess it's more of a question of can he stay healthy. So, there goes Cole. So
I'm a little disappointed to see Mika Zibanejad go there to Brian. That's who I would have taken with one of my picks here, but I'm going to get a guy that Chris is big on here. Let me take Clayton Keller. And let's see here.
All right.
I'm happy with that. Let's look at the left wings. I'm going to take a guy here that somebody commented on our page. It doesn't get enough love, and I agree. 31 goals, 42 assists projected this year. Matt Boldy in Minnesota. I'll take that as an 8th round pick. I'm happy with how my team's shaping up here. I don't love the Heiskanen pick. That I should have taken Dobson there instead, but other than that, I'm happy with how my team's shaking out so far. There goes Joseph Wall.
Joseph Wall sighting.
At some point, I'm going to have to look at a second goalie as they're starting to go. There goes Aiden Hill. Maybe I waited a little too long there.
You're on the wrong side again of goaltending.
Just like that happened to me that happened to me last week, but I saved the day with Skinner and Markstrom. That's not happening again, but at least I already have one goalie in the can here, but I still need a quality 2. There goes Seth Jarvis. A couple of Hurricanes back to back there with Chris on the clock.
Let's wait.
Taking a look at Chris.
I'm gonna go here. Start here. Work our way around.
I like that pick.
I like that pick too. I sleep on him, and then I almost never end up getting him.
He just needs a little bit of power play time. Just please, Peter, just a little bit more. I beg of you.
A smidge.
Just a smidge of power play time would be fun. To be honest, I wanted Charlie McAvoy, but Deuce seems to have my page open on his computer as well, with the Tage Thompson and Charlie McAvoy pick. So that's kind of fun.
And that's the thing. McAvoy kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, but he's still a top-notch defenseman, still a top dozen guy there. And there goes Nico Demko and Nico Hischier to wrap up round 8. Anthony's making his second of back-to-back picks. No surprise on Hischier. And then he gets Brock Besser, who, as long as he stays healthy, that's a borderline steal in the 9th round. Morgan Riley goes. Frank Vetrano goes. Now Chris back on the clock here with pick 9-4. How many rounds do we have? And he goes Nick Suzuki. So he misses out on Cole Caulfield, but he gets his guy. And we are past the halfway point of this draft, which is lovely. After Suzuki, Robert Thomas goes, Gustav Forsling, and then Luke Hughes, who some believe he's going to take over that top power play quarterback spot from Dougie Hamilton this year. So that's something to keep an eye out on in Newark. And I'm back on the clock now, so I'm going to have to make my decision here.
I waited one round for Brock Faber. That didn't work out.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
I mean, some people are listening too much.
All right. Again, because of the power play presence, he's got center and left wing eligibility. And faceoffs do not matter in this league, in this format. So I'm going to take Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And then I'm not going to wait any longer on a goaltender. I think he's going to end up getting the bulk of the starts there in Carolina. I could go Kochekov here. I got to take him. I was tempted to maybe go and grab Linus Olmark instead and maybe not deal with wins, but I think they're going to transition to him more and more this year, obviously with Anderson's his injury history. There goes Johnny Carlson. So Silver Fox, maybe not 4 defensemen back-to-back, but goes back-to-back on D there to help shore up his blue line. Let's pull up his squad here. He's got Kachuk, Aho, Kaprizov, Meyer, Cofield, Dobson, Faber, Carlson, Swayman, and Wall. I mean,
I think this is his second draft where he's done Faber and John Carlson. And that is a great combination on the blue line. So I'm a little bit sad. But at the same time, at least we're listening. So that's good.
You keep drafting like that, we're not going to invite you into our league because we don't want to deal with you. Keep drafting like that. You're going to draft your way right out of the league.
You're gonna draft your way into somebody else's. We'll put in a good word if you want. If somebody's
Absolutely.
like, "Hey, is this guy credible?" Absolutely.
Give you the best recommendation you've ever gotten.
We'll send you to whatever league you want.
4 defensemen go in a row there after Carlson, Shea Theodore, who has been the subject of multiple trade rumors. Moritz Seider, who has fallen down into the 10th round. That could be a nice steal there for Deuce. He's gone 3 defensemen in a row, McAvoy, Hughes, Seider. So, maybe there's the argument to be, we talked about how we prefer to try and get those big defensemen early. Deuce is making the argument that you can wait and still get some quality there. Petrangelo goes as well that round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 10 picks. Anthony had Doughty to close out round 10 as he opens up round 11 here.
This is going to be a very LA part of the draft for me because I'm going to take Kevin Fiala right here.
You do have LA and New Jersey. You got a 2012 Stanley Cup team there kind of going on. There goes Fiala. So Fiala on the turn with Jason on the clock here. We'll see what direction he goes. Got about 5 rounds to go before we recap and wrap things up on this edition of Total Hockey Now, which, by the way, we're going to be with you on Thursdays moving forward. Tuesdays no good for me anymore. We have to move it. But, hey, Thursday's a big hockey night. I know it's a big football night, too. But nonetheless, we're going to be, again, I'm going to get screwed on defensemen because I have 2 more starting positions. And there they go. Look at all of this green in the last 3 rounds.
I mean, you just keep doing it to yourself at this point, Adam. Like, I'm not crying anymore for you. Like the first time you're like, oh man, but now like you knew because you're repeating an action and expecting a different result. The middle of the draft is a defense draft, I hear.
No, you're right. When you're right, you're right. And you're right. And I'm not going to take us. Let's see here. I'm torn between 2 guys. I'm going to take Elias Lindholm. I think the upside of going to Boston. And now I'm kind of forced to take, a defenseman here of who's, best of the rest. Hits matter. I don't want him. I don't want, you know what? I have way too much Edmonton, but I'll take Ekholm there, just to kind of have him be, the stat we love to hate. Ekholm's going to have a hell of a plus minus with Edmonton. So
there goes Silver Fox again, grabbing the player I just immediately put into my queue. So this has been fun.
There we go. So I have plans here for my remaining 3 picks, or 4 picks, I should say, because I still have another defensive spot to fill. Jeremy Lauzon, he was one of the last picks in the last draft, but hey, in a league that values hits, he certainly matters, but I don't know if I would have taken him there. Probably could have waited on him a little bit longer.
I hate this pick, but we're going to do it anyways.
There he is.
Oh.
Linus Hallmark. I mean, listen, he's going to get you saves. He's going to play a lot.
Yeah, he's
Jake
going to lose.
Patterson. That's an interesting one. Brandon Hagel, of course, you know what you're going to get there in that round out of him. Let's get down here. As Ant is on the clock. There goes Owen Tippett. A lot of people think he's going to take another step forward this year, probably break that 30-goal barrier. Connor Ingram. That was going to be my pick on the way back. He was still there.
Just get the whole goalie situation, especially in case I need a bench one. Get that out of the way. And there's still a lot of centers here, so a lot to work with.
I know what I'm doing with my 2 picks, just to have a little fun if both guys are there on the way back. So we'll see what happens here. And there goes Jonathan Marchessault, heading over to Nashville. He's going to be counted on there for sure. There's still a couple of goalies out there. I have something I want to do that would be fun, but I may have to spoil it and go with the better pick. There goes Patrick Laine, Brent Burns, and now Chris back on the clock here.
I don't know if you mentioned this from the chat because I was zoning in there, but Craig, who I think is Silver Fox, saying that you sniped him, Chris, for Dahlin, but we all know you're a Dahlin guy.
I know, but he's coming back here, though. I didn't know we were gonna. I would have given you Dahlin if I could get some of those, the John Carlsons and the Mike Mathesons and the Cole Caulfields of the world. But
now you took one of the goalies I was considering on when it comes to me. So there goes Gustafsson. There goes Tavares, which might be a little late for him. Maybe it's a little too late for him, but nonetheless, good value there. 13th round. I mean, he's still going to play. Let's see here, as Brian's about to make his pick, he took Charlie Lindgren last round. Craig on the clock here as well. There goes Phil Peronic. That was another one I was considering back at that pick. There's Stolars. All right. It's time. We said we take him in the mid-teens. Maybe it's a little bit early. It's the end of the 13th round. There goes Macklin Celebrini. And just for shits and giggles.
Oh, there's no draft that I don't think Adam has not drafted Celebrini.
I think there was one I did not get him, but I usually get him. I'm in on him this year. I'm going to be getting Celebrini, Young Guns. I am in on this guy. So he's going to be terrible. JJ Peterka doesn't always get a lot of love there in Buffalo, but that's definitely one of those value picks that could pay off big in Buffalo for sure. Going to be playing on that top line. So what am I got to figure out what I'm doing with my last 2 picks here. I need... Yeah, I know what I'm going to have to do, and I'm not a big fan of it, but what are you going to do? So Brian on the clock here. We'll see what happens, what pick he makes. He takes another defenseman, Noah Hannafin. Very, very good pick there for the defensemen that are available at this stage. There goes Skinner, Blake Coleman, Darcy Kemper. I think that's a good goalie pick as well. He's probably going to get the bulk of the starts, even though they're saying that it's probably going to be a little bit of a close to a 50-50 split. I think if Kemper plays well, he'll be the guy. Draft winding down here as we get towards the end of the 14th round of a 16-round, 10-team head-to-head draft here. About 10 minutes to go on this edition of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. So after Kemper, Martin Necas goes. Great pick there. Jared McCann going at pick 14-8 to Rock. So let's see what happens here with Jason, who has gone to Brinkat, Mackenzie Wagar in the 11th round, which is a steal. Owen Tippett, Patrick Laine, his last 4 picks. Ant's got 2 picks coming up here. He's taken Drew Doughty, Kevin Fiala, Connor Ingram, and Jonathan Marchessault in his last few picks. And Nikolai Ehlers goes. So now Ant's on the clock. He gets his guy, Jamie Benn. They was very quick on the trigger finger there. And he's going to make his second of back-to-back picks here.
Yeah, I want some hits here. So I'm going with Darnell Nurse.
The contracts don't matter in fantasy. So
nope.
Thank God.
All right, can you imagine? So Jason back on the clock here, looking to make one of his last 2 picks. Let's take a look at Jason's team, see if I could try and figure out what he's going to do here before he makes his pick. He still needs a right wing for sure. So let's see. He has taken no right wing. He's taken Owen Tippett, and he's got DeBrincat and Svechnikov. He's got some right wing eligibility there, but no true right wings. And there he goes. He takes Patrick Kane. So fills out that last spot. Logan Thompson, probably going to be in a split there with Lindgren, but I still think Lindgren will have the edge and starts. Chris on the clock here to make one of his.
I pray. I need you to not be yourself this year, okay? John Tortorella, I need you to not. Just don't bench him like game 6 for, I don't know, something.
Now there goes one of the defensemen I was considering with my last couple of picks there, Jacob Chikrin. Evander Kane goes, and now Deuce on the clock here.
I just want to point out they have Mitchkov at projected at 31 goals this year. If you're getting 31 goals in round 15 of a 16 and a 10er, I mean, that's some value. Again, the wild card here is not the player. It's the coach. So
yes.
Just, this could go south quick, but there's some upside here.
All right. So in the last 3 picks, Mark Stone, Arturi Lehkonen, love that pick there. Lehkonen, because he gives you everything in shorthanded points. He's not going to give you a lot of stuff, but he's going to be a well-rounded guy. Pavel Buchnevich, another strong pick there in round 15. Just Craig putting on a clinic like he usually does. Let's see here. I'm going to take Brady Shea with 1 pick.
Okay.
And I still have to take another defenseman. I don't want to have Harley and Heiskanen because I don't like having 2 defensemen from the same team when I can avoid it. I mean, he's still here. I don't want to do that either. All right. You know what? Just for the hits factor, Ratko Gudas.
There you go.
For a guy that's just going to plug in and when that defensive spot is vacant, just get me as many hits as possible. I've heard rumblings he could even be captain in Anaheim this year. So
yeah, and I'm going to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. So Justin Falk goes there. Mason Marchment. We're rounding out round 16 as we wrap this draft up. Samuel Montembeault, Ilya Samsonov goes for a couple more goalies. Shane Gostisbehere. 4 picks remaining as Chris is on the clock here.
Taking a risk here, boys. Taking a risk.
Lane Hudson. We'll see how much action he gets. Jake DeBrusk, that's a good pick there in the last round. Jake DeBrusk, that's can't recommend him enough in those later rounds because there's Varlamov, and then with his last pick is going to take Tyler Toffoli. Got a little piece of that San Jose top 6 there. So the draft is now complete. Why don't we take a look at some teams here? We'll get this off the screen. So let's take a look at my team before we wrap things up, and then we'll look at the other guys and Craig's as well because he's practically a member of the family. So we got Cale Makar, my first pick, and JT Miller. I love that first 1-2 punch. Had to get a goalie there because they were starting to go. Happy with that. Got a piece of Edmonton's top 6 with Hyman and the power play. This is where I made a mistake. Should have grabbed Dobson instead. Nonetheless, I don't hate it. I followed up with getting some another 3 strong wingers there, Ovechkin, Keller, Boldy. So I'm really happy with my wing presence. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there, giving me center, another piece of that Edmonton top 6 in power play. Goaltending could be a little weak after Ottinger. I'm relying on Kochetkov to have a big year. I grabbed Lindholm again because I'm a big believer that he's going to get a nice boon from playing in Boston. Ekholm, I messed up again with Matheson. I got to improve on my depth defenseman picking there. That's the one thing I for sure need to focus on. Go back-to-back Sharks there. Go a little crazy, but get a couple guys. Askarov is probably going to get the starts, and then Celebrini. Campbell. I believe that he's going to be a 50, 60, 70 point player this year, and then Brady Shea and Gudas to round out my draft there. Let's take Chris's team here. Let's go backwards this way.
Absolutely. David Pastrnak is going to shoot the puck. I need him. Roman Josi. I mean, he's still the king there in Nashville. Better team around him. That's going to help. Rasmus Dahlin, you already know why. Jake Gensel, somebody's got to put the puck in Tampa Bay. A lot of places have his over under at 90 points. I think that's a little rich, but if he's flirting with that, I'm okay with it. Kyle Connor, just because, Kyle Connor, why not? Ilya Sorokin here. There were a lot of goalies that went off the board. I still think Sorokin is good. Maybe the Islanders are not as terrible as they are. Dylan Larkin, the upside is there. Lafreniere, the same thing. Nick Suzuki, underrated. I don't know if he's a point per game player, but he's going to get every opportunity. He plays a ton of minutes, and I don't see that changing. Juraj Slafkovsky, I expect him to take a step. Also, he is one of those players who could also pick up like 20 some odd goals, 60 some odd points, and 150 hits. So he's in one of those categories. Zach Werenski as well, a little bit underrated. Some of you are sleeping on him, which is good because allows me to keep grabbing him. Linus Ullmark, I hate the pick. It is what it is. Philip Gustafsson, I needed somebody after taking Linus Ullmark, so I can only play Ullmark against weaker teams because Ottawa's going to get lit up. Martin Necas, good chance here. I know Carolina, we're not all too hot on them, but I mean, he's still there, and I still expect the Hurricanes to be a good team. And now I'm just taking some shots here. Mitchkov, if he gets the opportunity to play some top lines, if John Tortorella doesn't saddle him to the bench because he's, of a turnover, he should be okay. And then Lane Hudson here. I don't know if he's going to stick right out of camp. If anything, like I was mentioning at the top of the draft, if he doesn't and he goes down to the AHL and you have a non-roster spot that you can kind of stash him on, I stash him there. I'll pick up another defenseman until he's called up. So I like it. I think this is a really good team. My goaltending, but the rest of it's pretty solid.
See, well, the one thing about the goaltending on your team is if Sorokin bounces back, then you are very okay. You got a nice bounce there. It's all on the bounce back there now. A guy who's goaltending, he doesn't have to worry about because he's got a strong 1-2-3 punch, is Anthony.
Yeah. Going first there, obviously, I did not think I was going to get the two top players at their positions. And no, disrespect to Shesterkin. I actually think he's going to have a bigger year because of the contract. And I would have taken him if he over Hellebuck, if that came to me. But when you're going first or you're at the back, you really have to kind of hone in on the goaltending, because if you don't, you're really going to get stuck with and I actually like, for where you were, Chris, I actually kind of like what you did there with goaltending for the position that you were at fourth there. So I did obviously Connor McDavid, we all know, consensus number one. Connor Hellebuck there, and Evan Bouchard. So I took three of what I think is the top players at each position. I know Bouchard's not the best defenseman, but when you have Connor McDavid, you're gonna stack those points up with those two guys. So I took them. Steven Stamkos, obviously, he's a guy that I keep drafting. Markstrom, considering the fact that I just wanted to get the goalies over with, and I thought that seeing everyone else get off the board, I think it was the right time to kind of reach there. Like Adam said, when Dougie Hamilton on defense, Montour, brought in Nico Hischier, Besser, I kind of liked where I got him there. Drew Doughty, who's always a consistent 50-point player, I think was good there. Did a little LA double-double there with Kevin Fiala. Then I know I took Adam's guy in Connor Ingram. I know you wanted him, but did a little bit of a snipe there. And I thought that finished off my goaltending. Jonathan Marchessault as well, sticking with the Nashville crew there. Jamie Benn, Darnell Nurse, too, on defense there for the hits. And I don't know, it says on the clock there in the last one. I guess the last one was Tyler Toffoli. Yeah, there you go. He had eligibility for left wing and right wing, so needed to get one of those guys in there as well.
I love both of your drafts. I know I'm reaching a bunch on Askarov. I take that pick half in jest. Kemper is a better pick there for sure, but trying to have a little fun. I was a little bummed that I didn't get Ingram. Let's take a look at Craig's team before we get on out of here. Kachuk, Kaprizov, Swayman, Aho, Meyer, Dobson as your opening six-pack. Pretty good. Gets Cole Caulfield there. He's a big believer in Joseph Wall. I mean, 8th round to get him, just like Georgiev, he's going to get wins. He probably is going to be a better goaltender than Georgiev. So there you go. Brock Faber, Carlson, he did that last week. And then, he didn't go 4 defensemen in a row, but 3 out of 4 rounds, Faber, Carlson, and Matheson there to round things out, hoping on a big bounce back from Carlson. Shifley kind of gets overlooked, but he, what he's going to bring to the table. Where his bread's buttered. He goes with the handcuff there. And Toronto's a team I think listen, is Anthony Stolarz a guy you necessarily want to draft? No. If you take a Joseph Wall, I think you have to handcuff him there. Then, late round flyers on Peterka, Buchnevich, and Falk. A couple of blues there. We'll see what happens with St. Louis. But all around, good draft, good pacing. We do these every week here on Total Hockey Now. We do them, each and every week on Thursdays. try to mix up the formats a little bit, but nonetheless, love to give you fantasy hockey content at a time of the year when, before it starts to get, be the popular thing to do. So
yeah, we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. You know what I like about Silver Fox's drafts? Is that he listens and watches the show.
He's a big fan.
Yeah,
Dobson,
he likes our
Faber, Carlson, and Matheson. That is a lot of upside there, a lot of points.
absolutely.
That's it's good. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you're listening.
Be more like Craig. Total Hockey Now on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Follow us there. See the rate, like, subscribe, all that good stuff there. Now, just a couple of notes to get through before we wrap things up. Slapshot podcast. I think I saw a note that's coming back next week. Am I not mistaken, Chris?
That is right. September 3rd. Lock in. We're gonna have some hot takes over there. If you want me to leave this one, wait till you find out that I got my own, and I have no executives telling me what to do. So it is even more unhinged. So if you're looking to be offended right off the rip on wake me up when September ends, I promise you, to that one guy in the YouTube comment saying, get Chris out of here, that's fine, man. I got a second one for you.
There you go. You could watch him on the Slapshot podcast. New episode of Rip and Riff came out yesterday. A lot of football, some baseball. We talk NFC and AFC North futures bets as well. And it's not too late to get in on the Mets train and then get disappointed with the Subway to Shea podcast.
We are going down a very tough hill this week, and my show tomorrow at 3:30. If they don't win this game that they're playing in right now, there might be some fumes coming out of that show.
I didn't even have to look at the Mets box score to know if they won or lost. I just saw the Subway to Shea tweet, and I was like, "Nah,
all caps."
All caps, very angry. I was like, "Oh, it did go well yesterday, did it?" I was like, they probably blew a late lead, and then I checked, and lo and behold, they blew a late lead. So
that's what they do best. Sorry, it's the truth though.
It's almost over, Ed. Hockey season's right around the corner here. You'll be safe.
Yes.
That's right. Hockey season is we're just a little over a month away. We can almost say a month away. But yes, love everybody that tunes in next week. We'll take a look at division odds next week. We'll have a lot of fun here on Total Hockey Now. For at Rivera 86 and for Fuzzy Chris 91, I am at Pucking Thoughts. I'm back with you next Thursday, September, what is that, the 5th? Yeah, the 5th. We're back with you an all new episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. Thanks as always, folks.